Thanks for checking out this edition of This Week in the World of Football, coming to you live from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. The purpose of this podcast is to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. We hope to educate, inform, and entertain you with the glorious buffet that is the world of football, while also keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. You can find the show after it's aired live on a multitude of podcasting platforms, as well as right here on YouTube along with past shows. If you want to connect with us, just find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads. Those links will be down in the episode description. Remember to comment, like, and share this video. If you have thoughts or comments during the show, drop them into the live chat and maybe you'll see your name on screen. If you have questions and they are deemed appropriate, they'll be answered at the end of the broadcast. So without further ado, let's kick off this week's show.
Hello again, everyone. This is episode number 406 for August 12th, 2025. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the Duluth Harbor Monsters are your ArenaMania II champions again. The matchup is set for the Indoor Football League Championship game, and we have an interview with Jeff Miller and John Steffenhagen, who have a new book out about a forgotten founding father in the NFL. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the internet from me today, as always, is my son, Adam.
Well, howdy doody. How's it going there, everybody? Still learning the boards. I'm going to try not to kick Randy out this week. That's the plan, at least. But very excited. We got a fun show lined up for everybody. Very excited. We got our guests waiting in the wings there. We'll be bringing them on in a second. I know we got a couple things some housekeeping stuff to take care of, and then we'll get moving. But how are you doing, Dad? Now that we're not doing this in person, we don't get to catch up like we usually do before a show.
Yeah. You're not here to tell me what a mess this room is and how I need to clean it up, but there's a big pile of your crap over there that needs to get taken to your place one of these days. So waiting for that.
Well, if I'm never back over there, it's not my problem. So it's fine.
All right. Not only do we have a weekly podcast, but we also make YouTube videos. We currently have over 600 videos on our YouTube channel, with the newest being our CFL weekly recap for week 10. We just posted that the other day. And that's really all we've done the last week. So it's been a really quiet week for us. For upcoming videos, we've got next week, we'll have our week 11 CFL recap. And maybe Adam and Kyle will do an episode of Just Lying Around next week sometime, maybe.
We'll see. Kyle's been hit worse than the injury bug that bit our Detroit Lions defense last year. He's been through the ringer. So he told me we should be up after the next preseason game. We probably should get a show around. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay. All right. Let's begin this week's show by bringing on a couple of authors from Western New York who have a new book out called Leo Lions. I got a copy of it right here. It's called Leo Lions, the Rochester Jeffersons, and the Birth of the NFL. Welcome to the show, Jeff Miller and John Steffenhagen. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
All right. John, the last time I saw you, or Adam and I saw you, we were in a graveyard in Rochester, New York, standing by the final resting place of your great-grandfather, who is the subject of this book that you wrote.
Yes, that was quite happenstance. I just happened to be walking the cemetery. But no, that was the final resting place of Leo Lions. And
Now I had told you we were going to be in the area, and we said we were going to be visiting his grave, and you were like, "Hey, let me know when you're going to be there, and I'll show up." And you did, and we might not have found his grave right away if we hadn't seen your car sitting there by it. So we want to thank you for that. But this book is, I think, is going to change the way a lot of people think about the early days of the NFL. And Jeff, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
How long were the two of you guys researching this book?
Well, I'll give props to John on that one. He's been researching Leo's life for the last 20 years. But we started this collaboration about 3.5 years ago, and there was still a lot of research left to do, but it was pretty intense. There was, we wanted to really dig deep and tell the story of the early pro game and the founding of the NFL from a different perspective, and that would be Leo's. So 3.5 years of intensive collaboration.
Wow. John, I know that you spent a lot of time researching Leo and all that, but is there more to Leo's story than what's in the book? I mean, I just assume that you're finding out new things every day. Is there going to be like a sequel, or what's next in the story of Leo Lyons?
There could be a sequel for sure, because I mean, yeah, there were a lot of stories that were not put in the book because Jeff, who had the foresight in saying, we're not going to just put something on there if just Leo jotted something down. We're not just going to take that, put it in the book. I mean, maybe, who knows? So everything had to be factual. Everything had to have a backup to its fact, which was it was very aggravating during it. I don't know how many times I was so mad at him and he was so mad at me. And, I would search for months of something and he'd be like, okay, here, Jeff, I got it. Well, what about, did you check this? I'm like, no. And it would be so bad. And he's like, we can't use that for the book. I'm like, why? This is an incredible story. Nope, it's not backed up. We can't do it. So it was a big give and take, but I always told him like a week later, I'd be like, I thank you for being that way, because I agree. I don't want to just put something out there that's just something scribbled on a page. Okay, we're going to go with it.
Yeah, one of my questions was how you guys collaborate. Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the one thing I wanted to make sure, because as you guys know, we know a lot of historians and we know a lot of authors in the PFRA and around the country. And if we get anything wrong, somebody's going to find out or somebody's going to see it. So I wanted to make sure that we told a story that was perfectly airtight, and I think we did. That's why, I would aggravate John. I'd be writing and I'd say, okay, well, I came across this fact or this note, but I'm not sure if Leo wrote it, at the time, if he wrote it later, he just scribbled it down, or if it was completely accurate. So I'd go to John with it. He'd get aggravated because, I need more. But he was, when it came to research, anytime I came across something, he would find a way to back it up. He would find a note, a newspaper article, an NFL meeting minutes, something. John was the best. He is the best researcher I've ever worked with, without question. And it was really, it really allowed us to create a story that was, like I said, 100% accurate.
Well, that kind of answers one of my other questions. I was going to ask you, how was it working together, the two of you? And I was going to ask, who really handled what in the collaboration?
It was just the both of us, just back and forth, constant text and messaging and phone calls, and every now and then we'd meet up at a restaurant or something and talk over everything. But it was really tough. It was a lot of sending documents and stuff, and this isn't clear enough. And he's like, I just need one more little bit of that story. And I'd be like, I don't have it. I'd like the end of the page got cut off. He's like, well, go look, and there's hundreds and hundreds of these documents in these boxes. So I'd go back through. My wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I gotta look through. He needs a name or something. And I'd come back and I'd go, I'm sorry, I don't have it. I feel like he was aggravated at me, but it's almost like you're doing a story, but it's like, okay, don't leave me hanging here. I need to know. And I'm like, I just don't have it. And so there's a couple of the stories that it goes on good, but then it stops because we just simply don't know, and we're not going to guess what happened. So it's left at that. It didn't happen a lot, but it did happen, and it was very aggravating.
Yeah, and I think the major stories or the major, events within the book, we were able to flesh out completely, like the NFL first meeting or the founding of the Hall of Fame or a particular game, a road trip or something. We really got a lot of great information that I think is kind of missing from other accounts of the early NFL. So,
oh yeah, I was going to say one of the weird ones was like the paint store, for instance. I had, for 20 years, I've been in search of Leo, going through every single newspaper. So I thought, I had a good grip on everything. And then during the process of the book writing, I got up in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep. I was like constantly researching, like 24 hours. I would go without sleep. I got into it so bad. You get on a trail of something, then you go on it. But one morning I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I get on there, and for some reason I just put the right combination of words in newspapers.com, either Leo, paint, Rochester, and then something else. But I find in a small newspaper article in 1933 showing Leo opening this paint store. And not only was it just a paint store, it was the first superstore of hardware and paint. And it was state of the art. And it was like, and that's where, in the book, I don't want to give too much away, but somebody in the NFL helps him start this business. Because I was like, where he didn't have the money to do this, and just things like that would come out of nowhere. And it's like, okay, now I know this story. And then that would lead me to going through Chicago papers and finding out stuff in there. And just a lot of weeks and months were just spent on, I was praying that I wasn't going down, like spending all this time for nothing. But it usually would always lead to something. And it was amazing. I mean, thank God he was in the paper all the time, because I wouldn't have been able to find all this, everything.
Yeah. Now Leo was like the first historian for the NFL in the early days, and he collected a lot of memorabilia, and he made a lot of very specific notes on who gave this item to him, and so that really helped in your research, didn't it? But you still had to go back and double check and confirm a lot of these things.
Yeah, that was the thing that you would see. I had 3 inventory lists, I think, overall, but I just had a one original one. And some of the things that I possessed and some of the things I didn't. But as I would go through, and then, we'd have a date for a certain game. And I'm like, all right, let me go back and make sure that they played that team on that date. And it matched up. And it was just again, time consuming. Like, months would go by like just nonstop. But it was very interesting finding out the things that he had.
So one question I had, before Randy gets another one out there, is of 2 great researchers. I know you guys do a lot of hard work. What is maybe one nugget specifically that, I mean, you were told about the store, but what's a nugget that you guys really were caught aback by throughout researching for this book?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I think there are 3, and a couple of them are pretty prominent. One is that basically the idea of football trading cards modeled after the baseball was Leo's idea. They didn't start manufacturing cards until the mid 30s, but he was talking about creating trading cards as early as 1916. This is before the NFL is even born, and John has the documentation to show this. And then there's later on in the mid 20s, there's another document where Leo actually has stapled a baseball card to a piece of paper and has the diagrams of what these football cards would look like. So he was constantly pitching this to the NFL, or the guys, Joe Carr and George Halas, who would tell him, we don't have the money to do this kind of thing right now. The next thing was the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We have letters, again, John has letters from 1931, and throughout the 30s where Leo's asking the Green Bay Packers or the Chicago Bears, send me documents, send me, programs, send me old photographs. I'm collecting this stuff. And in 1936, there's a letter from Joe Carr to Leo saying, I love your idea about establishing the museum for football, Pro Football Hall of Fame. We just don't have the money to do that right now. So that was Leo's idea. And the third thing was the Red Grange, the signing of Red Grange. He tried to sign Red Grange, and that there's a whole story about how that goes down. And he details the entire journey from, going out to Wheaton, Illinois, and meeting with Doc Cooley and Red Grange's father, and, getting how he raised the money. He was going to pay, he offered Reg $5,000 a game. And John has the canceled check. He has the check registry where it says who gave him the money for the check, and I'll let John reveal that if he wants to. But the whole thing about how he traveled to the Morrison Hotel in Chicago to try to sign Grange, but he was already sequestered in a room with Dutch Sterneman and George Halas. It's a fascinating story, and it's it might be my favorite story in the whole book because Leo gives such detail in his journal. So, John, I don't know if you want to give the rest away, but
I'll give a little bit. I mean, as far as that, working on the Grange thing there, I mean, I had originally just known, George Hallis mentions it in his autobiography, that Leo was there at the Morrison Hotel to try to sign him, but we took him. But I didn't, these things, now say, for instance, that check he's talking about and these other notes, these things came from aunts and uncles who I would pester them nonstop to go through their attic, go through these boxes. But a lot of them were older, and I don't think they could probably physically do it. So they would have, get family members. And I would offer, we both offered Jeff, we were like, we'll come down. One of them was in Washington, D.C., who ended up giving me the trophy. But all these things were in their boxes, long forgotten from their parents. And yeah, so it would take months, years, and then these documents would show up. So at one point, my uncle died, and my aunt says, my sister was here. She was going through my stuff, and she found a big folder of, it says Leo on it, and then they're not football fans. So they would send it to me, and I open it up, and I'm just like, is this real? I'm almost thinking like this is a fake. Like this can't be real. All these things, like the canceled check. So I didn't even want to tell Jeff at first. I'm like, I got to make, like, maybe somebody in the family's making these things up. Like, who knows? So I start researching the name on the check. It says Frank Boscarino. Well, researching through there, I find out that Frank Boscarino was Rochester's biggest mobster during 1920, right at the time range in 2025. And it would have his address. I mean, there was like things where nobody could make it up. It was like details that weren't even on the internet, but I had known just it was out there. But it was like, that's how a lot of these things were. And it just nonstop. So I would say the biggest surprise, I think, was the cards, because again, in those things that I got were the actual blueprints with the old paper that was literally falling apart in my hands. Here he's got literally the dimensions, and he's talking about how it's so stupid. And this is like 1916. He's like, the NFL, this is or pre-NFL, I'd say probably like 1919. He's saying to people, or he's writing in his journal notes, like, why don't we cater to kids? Because kids like to collect the cards. You have the tobacco cards, which are so popular, and then finally Cracker Jack came out. But Rochester had George Eastman, and they had Chiclets, the American Chicle Company, both right down the street from his house. So he had met, and I ended up going through newspapers. Oh, I find a little article, George Eastman meets with Leo. It would be like that, and it would be literally like I'm reading a book, researching this, and it's just mind-boggling, and it's just crazy. And that's basically Leo's life. It's just like these little chunks all throughout, but it's pretty amazing.
Now, the Rochester Jeffersons football team was founded what year? When did they start playing?
1898.
1898. Okay, and Leo actually played on the team. Like a couple of years later, he joined the team or something like that.
1908, he joined the team as a 16-year-old.
Okay, and then the NFL came along, and Leo was the owner of the team by that time, and he was there at the meeting in Ralph Hayes' Hupmobile dealership that founded the NFL, and the Jeffersons became one of the founding members of the NFL through what, 1926, I think it was.
Yes.
So 20 to 26.
They played through 1925.
25 was the final season.
Okay. And then from there on, Leo's life just he stayed around the NFL, even though he wasn't an owner and didn't have the team anymore. And that's kind of what I think is so fascinating. But I wanted to ask, is there one bit of memorabilia that you found in all your research from all the boxes that he had, things that he had accumulated, that you kind of prize above everything else? A physical thing that he's left behind?
Yeah, I think the trophy, I guess. Yeah, the trophy, because there's so many pictures of Leo holding that trophy. And then going back to my childhood when I was a little kid, there it is, being at his house. And that's the trophy that I have now has lost its luster. It doesn't shine like it does in the picture. But as a baby, my mom said I would be over at Leo's house, and I was always drawn to the trophy because it would sit on a mantle. It was bright and shiny. So Leo would hold me and the trophy. And how ironic, 100 years later, I have it sitting in my living room, and it's like, yeah, the coincidence is pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, Jeff, you sent us several pictures, and we've shown two of them here. I thought maybe we'd show the other pictures and have you explain what we're looking at in those pictures.
Sure.
The first one, I think, was the team from 1915.
1915, and this one's interesting because the first year they wore the Jeffs jerseys, and it's also, if you in the second row or in the middle row, third from the left is Henry McDonald, who is the fourth known African-American professional football player. And Leo is in the middle row, kneeling all the way over to the right. But it's, this is the Jeff's logo that's, I actually have it on my shirt.
Right, yeah.
And it's the first known professional logo, or first known logo used by a professional football team.
Okay. Let's look at some of the other pictures, Adam.
All right.
That is the Johnson & Johnson first aid kit that was gifted to Leo. Leo had approached George Eastman, who was the head of Eastman Kodak back in the day, and asked him for money to help support the team, to sponsor the team. But Eastman wasn't taking him very seriously, and he said, "Listen, I'm not going to give you any money." He was giving money to the arts and the medical schools and stuff like that. He gave away millions of dollars. Eastman was a well-known philanthropist, but he didn't think professional football had a future. He didn't think it had any value. He said, "But what I'll do is I'm going to give you this first aid kit." And at the time, that was the state-of-the-art first aid kit. It was really, pretty fancy. It's got drawers, and actually this is still in John's possession. It's got a lot of the medicines and things like that still in the drawers. It was state-of-the-art, and Leo used that for the first 6 years of the National Football League, and it was stolen on a number of occasions, and they had to chase down people and beat them up to get it back. But it's a great artifact.
Okay.
That's the certificate, the membership certificate from 1923 for the Rochester Jeffersons from the National Football League.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite pieces in John's possession. This is a page from the Saturday Evening Post on which Leo wrote notes on his way and during the organizational meeting in Canton on September 17th, 1920. So if you look real close, you'll see little notations about like different rules that they were talking about, or who was there, who was standing next to whom. And it's again, to me, it's one of the more fascinating elements of this story, that Leo is telling the story of the founding from a perspective other than George Halas. We always hear about, everybody seems to want to go back and cite George Halas because he wrote a biography and he talked about the league meeting.
Right.
But Leo gives a completely different perspective and tells you, who had the cigars and, how many times the police knocked on the door and they almost got thrown in the hookah. So it was pretty fascinating. This is Polo Grounds, 1925. John, what day was this? Wasn't this a holiday?
Armistice Day.
Armistice Day. So this is the Jeffersons against the Giants, and this is the Jeffersons are on defense in this picture. We haven't identified who the players are, though.
Okay. And those are all the pictures. I mean, we can just circle back to that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's Leo around 1970. He's holding the 1916 New York State Championship trophy. And the football, John, is that the one from 1921?
Nope, that's not the one I've got. That's the one at the Hall of Fame. That's the New York Giants ball. I'm sure of it. I've studied it for so many years. Right where the seam comes down, where you got the laces, and then it has this huge dip that goes down and then back up. You can see it literally on the ball there, and the one at the Hall of Fame has the same spot. So I believe that's the one where the Jeffersons played the Giants. it said it was from the Giants' opening season, so that would be correct.
So that would have been 25. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, John, I wanted to ask you. You were in a movie about Triangle Park. It was called Triangle Park. It was about the very first NFL game, and you actually played Leo Lyons in this movie. What was that like playing your great grandfather?
That was weird for sure. Somebody else was actually slated to do it, and then at the last minute they contacted me. They're like, "You want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So yeah, it was very neat. I mean, it never was really. It didn't go hit. It was supposed to be on Amazon and Amazon Prime. It never got released, but it was very neat. It was really cool to be him.
All right, I've got a question for both of you here. What is your favorite part of the book? Let's start with Jeff. What's your favorite part of the book?
For me, it's not really one particular episode. I mean, like I love the Red Grange story, and I love the story of the founding. But to me, it's the detail. Like I said, you don't see that kind of detail in these oral histories. This, he talks about, we got on board the New York Central at 8:00 and sat in for the 8-hour train ride to Canton. He talks about what hotel they stayed in, where they practiced, in the lobby, just everything. I mean, there's so much detail that for Leo, and to me, that was telling the story with that much detail just really brings it to life, because it's detail we don't have anywhere else. I just think that's a really special element to the story.
Yeah, and I think with like when I talked to Joe Horrigan back when we were at the PFRA meeting in Canton, 2020, or I can't remember when it was exactly, but the thing that amazed me the most is that the story really is about a kid who is totally obsessed with making a pro, like he had written a pro football league and him having a team in this pro league when there wasn't one. And I think, you see it as you're following his notes and everything, his journal, that he literally has a plan. I mean, it's not like, just some kid. I mean, he's literally working on doing it. And you can see the process, being the state champion or the city champions first. Then I'm explaining why I got to get these players from around, the state. Then he gets all the good players from the state, wins the state championship in 1960. And then literally, because I've had a lot of people go, well, yeah, he was in that organizational meeting, but he was an outsider. It's like, no, he wasn't actually, because in 1916, he had contacted Jim Thorpe, not George Hallis, but other guys out there out west, and he wanted to be part of it. And then that's why he challenged Jim Thorpe and Jack Kuzak, the Canton Bulldogs, because he knew that he had to make a thing for himself. So it was actually a lot of ball busting in that game. And literally, Leo was the one who came up and said, "We're going to come out there and kick your ass." I mean, that was something that gentlemen didn't do back then. And then to show how it reciprocated, it was known that Jim Thorpe was behind when the Jeffersons got to the field in Canton. There were stretchers along the bench, the Jeffersons bench, and they had done that and then people from the stands were hollering, "Yeah, that's what happened the last time. Two guys played against Jim Thorpe. They were carried off in stretchers." And so there was a lot going on. So it's interesting to me that what he did to get there. He was really a nobody, but to come from Rochester, New York, little Rochester, to be out in the Ohio League, it fascinates me.
Cool. All right, last question, and this goes to both of you. We'll start with you, Jeff. Should Leo Lyons be in the Hall of Fame?
I've never been one to say, oh, so-and-so got screwed, because, to me, it's like, it doesn't make any never minds to me if Otis Taylor or Alex Karras or Butch Bird is in the Hall of Fame. I want them all to be in the Hall of Fame. But after writing this book and looking at the first and the accomplishments and the things that Leo did, like I said, whether it's football cards, being a founder, being an owner, being the first historian of the league, the Hall of Fame, all that stuff, I think in totality, I think he's got a really good argument. I know a lot of people are pushing for Ralph Hay, but as far as I'm concerned, Ralph Hay did one thing. He held a meeting. You know, Leo Lyons did a ton of things, and you know, I don't really believe that we were trying to get him into the Hall of Fame with this book, but after writing it, I'm convinced that if anybody belongs there, it's him. I mean, the Hall of Fame was his idea. You should at least put the Godfather of Hall of Fame into the Hall of Fame. So yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Okay, John.
Me, I don't know. I can see both sides of it. So I don't know what part of me is the family part talking or not, but I don't think so. I think he doesn't even fit the mold of a Hall of Fame. He just is like, there's nobody like him. Nobody spent a childhood to the day he died involved in the NFL. I mean, every Joe Horrigan, Bob Carroll, historian, you know, he wrote in his article, Bob Carroll, that if it was getting into the Hall of Fame was based on loyalty, you know, putting your life into it, then Leo would have been the very first man put into the Hall of Fame.
Mm.
So it is. I mean, I know George Halas and Art Rooney were very for getting him in, and Jack Mara from the Giants, but I think there was also opposition from the new guys coming in that, you know, they didn't know Leo, they didn't care about Leo. So, but I would say I don't know. I can't say either way.
Well, maybe after enough people read your book, they might come to the same conclusion that Leo Lyons, in my opinion, does deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because of all the contributions that he made to the early days of the NFL, and that he stayed with the NFL for so many years. I mean, you've got pictures of him during the Hall of Fame parade and those sorts of things, and he was just everywhere. So
a Forrest Gump kind of character, definitely.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, there's a picture of the book, Leo Lyons, the Rochester Jeffersons, and the Birth of the NFL. Jeff Miller, John Steffenhagen, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Randy. Anytime.
All right.
You guys have a good one.
You too.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I could listen to them talk all day. The book, available wherever good books can be found, I'm sure. Amazon, you know, we'll definitely have it. So guys, go get this book. It's great. Dad, you got your copy over there. You've been, you know, going through that before this interview. What do you think of it?
It's there's a lot of great pictures in there. I mean, the pictures that you show, some of them I've seen in the book. I'm not sure if all of them are in the book, but there are a ton of other pictures in the book that just chronicles Leo's life, and I'm so looking forward to reading this book. I'm only into chapter 1 right now, so maybe if we didn't do so darn many podcasts, I'd have some time.
Oh, yeah, my fault. Yeah,
to do more.
All
reading,
my fault. That throw it back at me. You're the retired one. You have all the time on your hands.
It's published by McFarland Press that does a lot of great football books, but I got my copy on Amazon, and so just look for it. Leo Lyons, Rochester Jefferson's Birth of the NFL.
Yeah, but we'll have a link down in the episode description following today's episode. So if you haven't caught this live, it should be down in the episode description, and where you can find those guys and all their awesome stuff. So we appreciate them again for coming on. I could just sit back and listen to John and Jeff talk. Usually I do, because I'm just fascinated by everything they have to say. So,
well, you know,
it's always great.
John has been bringing a lot of these artifacts to some of the Western New York PFRA meetings.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen a few. That medical kit, he's brought that before. I got to see that up close, and he's brought so many other artifacts from the old days that Leo had, and it's truly, truly fascinating.
Yes, it is. I couldn't recommend you guys checking this book out more. I'm waiting on my copy, but I'm like, I just hear them talk about this for a little bit. Like, they've talked at these meetings, you know, like you said, John brings the stuff, like he had the jersey, or I think it was a jersey there. Yeah, I got video of that. It's awesome.
It's a replica jersey, but it's
a replica, but it's still
gives you an idea what that jersey looked like. Yeah, a red sweater with the word Jeff's on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's move on to the rest of our show today, as if any of this matters anymore. This week, we have scores from 15 games, including 2 playoff games, 1 championship game. in 4 different leagues across the U.S., Canada, and Europe. So let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football. And we're going to start off this week in the Arena League. Yes, it was their championship game this week, ArenaMania II. And this was held last Saturday. And the number 1 ranked Duluth Harbor Monsters defeated the number 2 ranked Hot Springs Wise Guys by the score of 56-27 to claim back-to-back titles in Duluth for the Arena League. Harbor Monsters quarterback Javante Johnson was named the game's MVP. I tried to get some stats. I went to the website. They've got a spot for the stats for the game, but they have not populated it as of yet. It's been 4 days since the game was played, but no stats as of a few hours ago. So that's something they need to work on. But congratulations to the Harbor Monsters.
Yeah, let's start with some positives because I mean, there's definitely a second-year league. They got a lot that they could work on.
Yes.
But look, I caught the game. I watched the stream. Tim Brown was on the pregame. The commissioner of the league, former NFL player, Hall of Famer, and he does have a great positive energy to him about this league. And while I'm still kind of getting used to watching the game, you're still getting used to the fact that it's a throw off, not a kickoff. There's no goalposts. It's 7-on-7, so it's pretty much every guy. It's like I've heard people describe it as it's like flag football but more intense. And it takes some special skill to play this particular version of indoor/arena football. We still can't even categorize it because it's still so kind of new and still kind of its own thing. But I was having fun for the first half. Then things kind of got out of control. Once the Harbor Monsters just pinned their ears back and hung in there, they pretty much had their way from the second half on. So I mean they built a great program there. And that's nothing against the Wise Guys. There's a lot of great plays in this. Guys going over the boards. And they should be very proud of what they put together, completing 2 seasons. I love the name, obviously. ArenaMania is top tier championship game names. And they were fun. I need to get me a mini helmet of that. It is a great helmet, that yellow shell. But so the game itself, I won't say it was a blowout. I mean, you win by, what is that, 20 or 29 points? So,
don't ask me. Math is too hard for me.
Math is hard. But I just, for the on-product, the on-field products, I think they're doing a good job. It's unique and interesting. But I think there's so much else they could clean up that would make this a lot more palatable to watch. I watched that pregame show, a lot of iffy audio. I get it. I'm not expecting NFL Network or ESPN quality stuff, but something you would think that maybe just clean up the audio a little bit. It was hard to see. If you could get a ring light, it's tough to get you a ring light half the time to brighten you up. You always look like you're in a closet, but a ring light to brighten up Tim Brown's face, because there are times I'm like, this poor man is getting the absolute worst lighting possible during this. But it's a cool trophy. And like you said, some of the other stuff, the social media stuff, they got to work on. Like you go to their Facebook page and they got their awards that happened this past week. I don't know if you want to talk about some of those. I don't have those graphics, but they did announce, Coach of the Year was the Wise Guys coach. And they had a couple other awards that went out. But you wouldn't know that if you went to their X account, because they haven't posted anything since before the game. They haven't even posted the final results, I think, on their actual X page. So, a little more consistency across their social media platforms would really help this league out, I think. But, we'll see going forward. And off the wall in the chat, Harbor Monsters were a machine. Just a huge mismatch talent-wise. Yeah, it was. Eventually, they outplayed the Wise Guys. They out-talented them. And I don't know. I'll be curious going into year 3. Yes, there's the rumors right now about the Harbor Monsters jumping to a different league. We'll wait and see. I'm not going to speculate if any of that's true or not, because I don't know. But we'll see. They built a good program there in Duluth. They got good players, and they clearly have – this league is being shaped kind of around them. So I'm curious to see what year 3 will bring for this league.
Okay, let's move on to the Indoor Football League. Adam, you want to run down the scores of the Indoor Football League?
Oh, sure. Let's talk indoor football, everybody. There were 2 games this past weekend, 2 great games. I might add. Some people may even say the greatest games in a long time in the indoor/arena football world. Starting with the Western Conference Friday night, which saw the Vegas Nighthawks upset the number 3 San Diego Strike Force 74-68. This game went to overtime. Of course, the controversy going into this one was, despite the Strike Force being the higher seed, the number 3 seed, because of arena availability, all that, they actually ended up on the road in this one in Vegas. So Vegas, the 4 seed, getting to host this game, and boy, oh boy, they making Off the Wall look very smart with his dark magic, because this was his preseason pick, the Vegas Nighthawks going and winning the whole kit and caboodle there. So, like I said, Trey, you got to let me know who your wizard is, so because looking a little sus, my friend. But no, it's like the fact that you have a game like this that went to overtime, that if you caught any of the highlights from this game, it was just banger after banger play. If you're an indoor football fan, you had to have gotten your money's worth watching not just this game, but the next game too, because the Indoor Football League, for all the grief we give them about paywall, about some of the other stuff, the product on the field's great, guys. We've seen it in person. We're seeing it right now through their playoffs. They've had one of the best playoff runs I think any league's had so far, and I don't think it's close. Like, so many great, awesome games, and we haven't even talked about the second one yet. Anything, Dad, from this one before I move on?
No, let's keep moving.
All right, then in the Eastern Conference, Saturday night saw the number 2 seed Green Bay Blizzard upset the number 1 seed Quad City Steam Wheelers 71-64. I emphasize that because Randy keeps calling them the Steam Rollers. Unfortunately, they got steamrolled by the Blizzard. Look, Green Bay, again, our friend Off the Wall, Trey, been talking about them since the midseason point, saying buy in their stock now, guys, because it's going up, and it's going to keep going up, and here they are. I know they've kind of struggled at the doorstep of going to the championship game the last few years, and they finally got over that hump. Here they are. They're going to be in the championship game. But if you watch any of the highlights from this game, again, another one where it was like back and forth. One team does one thing, the other team answers. A team makes a mistake, then the other team makes up for it. It was just so much. Did you even see the replay where a flash of arena football happened because a kick went off the U-shaped goalpost and actually bounced into play and got recovered by Green Bay? I think Green Bay was the kicking team on that play. But utter chaos, and you know me and my chaos.
You love chaos.
I love chaos. And Green Bay coming out on top to go to the IFL National Championship game. So, yeah, that sets up the aforementioned championship game. But what do you got?
I had predicted, my prediction for the championship game was Green Bay and Arizona, and that controversial call in the Arizona playoff game a couple weeks ago kept them out of it. But at least I got half my prediction right with Green Bay going to the championship game.
Hold on. Your prediction on the third video of talking indoor football, because at one point you picked 2 Western Conference teams to play in the championship game. So I just got to give you a little grief about that.
That's all in the past. What matters is the current picks, and I was half right. So, yay me.
Yeah, I definitely didn't get anybody in the championship game right, I don't think. So it's fine. But no, so that championship game between the number 4 seed Vegas Nighthawks from the Western Conference and the number 2 seed Green Bay Blizzard from the Eastern Conference will happen in 2 weeks' time, August 23rd in Tucson, Arizona. Be there, be square. I wish we could be there to check this game out. But if you're anywhere close, if these playoffs have shown us anything so far, you're in for an absolute fantastic game. And if Trey's Dark Wizard's correct, you could see the Vegas Nighthawks pull this one out. If you're a betting man, I'd throw whatever you got and the kitchen sink at whatever sports bookie you know. So,
okay, you going to do the news story? Or you want me to read that?
Oh yeah, so we got a couple news stories from the IFL before we move on. The first being IFL Commissioner Todd Tryon issued a statement after that conference semifinal round, saying that the game officials committed a judgment error during the review process of the playoff game between the San Diego Strike Force and Arizona Rattlers. You guys might remember we talked about that last week. Specifically, a false start that occurred as 3 or more players were not set at the time of the snap. The play was allowed to stand, and Arizona lost the game by a single point. However, Tryon also stated that the league acknowledged the error but will not overturn the outcome of the game, obviously, because, San Diego ended up playing in that game the other night. So just interesting there. I didn't expect him to overturn it. I think we were doing the show live when that eventually came in. So I can't remember if we touched on it or not, but I didn't expect him to overturn it.
No.
And why I think that sets a bad precedent. But the Arizona coach had his great tirade. That's one for the history books. And we definitely talked about that. But I think, in Arizona now, I won't say threatening, but promising, some consequences to the league for how things kind of went down. So indoor/arena football offseason just got a whole lot more interesting.
Yep.
All right. And then the other story, Arizona, the Northern Arizona Wranglers have re-signed their head coach, Ron James. I thought that was an interesting move. Seeing people already getting re-signed here, usually an indoor, it's pretty quiet for all this re-signing. They even re-signed a couple of players too. So Arizona Northern Arizona doing a lot to lock some guys up going into 2026. And that'll do it for the Indoor Football League. Now we're going to throw it back over to Randy, who's going to lead us through what was happening in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, Week 10 in the CFL started off on Thursday night with the BC Lions defeating the Hamilton Tiger Cats 41-38 in overtime. Man, this was such a great game. We talked about it on our show yesterday. This whole weekend, all these games were so good. There were two 1-point games, a 3-point game. I think a total of 9 points separated the winning teams and the losing teams this past weekend. Just a really, really great weekend. I was kind of torn on this team. This game, I was rooting for both teams really, but I think that BC needed this win more than Hamilton did, and this was on the road too. So congratulations to BC for this.
Oh yeah, you want to hear us talk about these games a lot more in depth because this weekend of CFL football was electric. Go check out our CFL recap show. We go into a lot more depth on these games. So go there, check that out.
Yeah, but something I wrote it here on this script, but I forgot to add it to our CFL script. During this game, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy, basketball player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He won an NBA title with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he was named the league MVP for the NBA this past year. He grew up in Hamilton, and he was honored during the game. He was given, before and during the game, he was given a key to the city. He had a street named after him in Hamilton, and he brought the NBA trophy with him out onto the field. I don't know if you saw any of that. I don't know if you watched this game or something like that.
I definitely caught the pictures. They posted a lot of pictures on the CFL X page. I just thought that was cool because they had a picture of like the Grey Cup trophy, I think, and the NBA trophy. So that was a cool photo op. But part of me kept thinking, hold on, that should be in Toronto somewhere with the Argonauts. What's that doing in Hamilton? I mean, I know it's just down the road, but it was a cool photo op. And the guy's name, I haven't been keeping super close with the NBA, to be honest with you. So that player I'm not familiar with, but still cool nonetheless. You get named MVP, and here you come back to your hometown and get to flex a little bit and show off your hardware.
Yeah. And also during that Tiger Cats game, offensive lineman Miles Gorrell, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Gorrell, was inducted into the Tiger Cats Wall of Honor. He becomes the 30th member of their Wall of Honor. He was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 2013. He played 19 CFL seasons for 5 different teams. He was with Calgary. He was with the Ottawa Rough Riders. He was with the Montreal Concords, Hamilton, and Winnipeg between 1978 and 1996. He actually spent 8 seasons with Hamilton from 85 to 91 and again in 96. And he won the 1986 Grey Cup with Hamilton. That's why he's going in their Wall of Honor. So congratulations to him. All right, moving on to the Friday night game. It was the Edmonton Elks over the Montreal Alouettes, 23-22. Again, another game that went right down to the wire, and I think the winning field goal was as time expired, which happened twice this weekend in games.
Right.
Saturday there were 2 games it was the Ottawa Red Blacks over the Toronto Argonauts, 46 to 42. Tackle Chris Schultz and another former player, Nick Volpe, were added to the Argonauts list of all-time Argos, which is kind of their version of the Wall of Fame or whatever. So they were inducted. And the big play from this game that we talked about quite a bit on our CFL show was the Jake Herslow hurdle.
That was awesome.
He caught the ball. He was running down the sideline. He hurdled over a guy. He got so high in the air. It's unbelievable. That's going to be a highlight for a long time to come. We posted it on our Facebook or X feed, so go over there and check that out. But that was a heck of a play. Really incredible to see.
They put up a top 5 plays of the week for the CFL on their YouTube channel, and of course that was number 1. There were some good highlights this week. I mean, through these tight games, you know, a lot of great highlights. But the top 5, if you get a chance, there's some good stuff there.
And finally on Saturday, it was the Calgary Stampeders over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 28 to 27. This was the game that the Winnipeg kicker kicked a 63-yard field goal with
Sergio Castillo, right?
Yeah, with like under a minute to play, but Calgary worked their way back down the field, and their kicker, Rene Paredes, kicked a 40-yarder to win the game with like no time on the clock. So just an incredible ending to that game too. I was kind of rooting for the Stampeders myself.
Yeah, I know you're a big Stampeders fan because of your Doug Flutie love, but for a guy to kick, to tie a record with a 63-yard field goal for Winnipeg,
right?
Just to have that outshadowed, like, hey, you might have gotten a tie, tie for the record, but this 40-yarder is going to win us the game, and so, but it's still cool. I mean, you don't get to see that a whole lot. Like I said, I'm wondering if some NFL teams are knocking on the door trying to get Sergio Castillo to come down to the States because, hey, I said it yesterday. All these leagues, CFL, NFL, Arena, Indoor, Europe, wherever, you need a kicker. Kickers are an important part of the game, and we're going to talk about a couple kickers later. But incredible stuff. 63-yarder, chef's kiss. It was awesome.
And then on by this past week, it was the Saskatchewan Roughriders. There was one bit of news. The CFL Combine is going to be heading back to Edmonton next March. The city of Edmonton last held the CFL Combine back in 2023. So look forward to that. I always like seeing the pictures. We don't get any coverage of that down here, but they post a lot of pictures of these guys working out for the teams and whatnot. So it's kind of cool to see that. But let's talk about the standings in the CFL after Week 10. Let's see. I guess we got to start with the West. Saskatchewan Roughriders at 7-1, Calgary Stampeders at 6-3, Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 4-4, BC Lions at 4-5, and the Edmonton Elks at 2-6. And then in the East, it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats at 6-3, Montreal Alouettes at 5-4, Ottawa Red Blacks at 3-6, and Toronto Argonauts, my favorite, 2-7. So that's it for CFL talk this week.
All right.
Now, I guess we'll send it back to Adam if you want to run over the European League of Football scores.
Oh, let's do it, guys. Let's talk some European League of Football. It's Week 13 in the ELF. Every team had a bye week in Week 12. I think that's a little weird. Everybody had a bye week, and then they got this week, and then their final week of the regular season is next week. So the playoffs fast approaching for the ELF. And it started out, we had 4 games on Saturday, starting with the Farivar Enthroners defeating the Berlin Thunder 34-31. The first win of the year for the Enthroners. How about that? They finally get in the win column. Good for them. Then Saturday saw no kidding. Just wish our winless Detroit Lions back in 2008 could have done that. But anyway, the Stuttgart Surge defeated the Cologne Centurions 44-3. The Surge have now won 5 games in a row, and the Centurions still sit at 0-11. On Saturday, the Vienna Vikings defeated the Verschlaw Panthers 50-36. The Vikings now have won 6 games in a row. And then the final game Saturday, the Paris Musketeers shut out the Helvetic Mercenaries 77-10. 0. What a spanking there. And the Mercenaries sit at 0-11. Then on Sunday, Randy's Nordic Storm defeated the Hamburg Sea Devils 40-7. Sunday, the Munich Ravens defeated the Madrid Bravos 30-27. The Ravens have now won 8 in a row. Watch out for them going into the playoffs. My Frankfurt Galaxy defeated the Prague Lions 28-21. And then finally, the reigning champion Ryan Fire defeated the Tyrol Raiders 34-24. And that brings us to the standings in the ELF. They got 4 divisions out there. And those teams you see in the number 1 spots are all the division winners right now. So the Nordic Storm won the North. The Vienna Vikings won the East. Munich Ravens won the South. And the Stuttgart Surge have won the West Division, which means there are 2 playoff spots still up for grabs. I'll run through the standings real quick. So the Nordic Storm finished at 10-1 in the North, followed by the 7-4 Rhein Fire, the 3-8 Berlin Thunder, and the 2-9 Hamburg Sea Devils. In the South, the Munich Ravens they don't finish. They end the week at 10-1. The Madrid Bravos at 7-4, the Tyrol Raiders at 5-6, and the Helvetic Mercenaries at 0-11. In the East, the Vienna Vikings at 10-1, the Prague Lions at 6-5, the Verschlaw Panthers at 5-6, and the Färöer Throners at 1-10. And then in the West, the Stuttgart Surge sit at 9-2, the Paris Musketeers at 7-4, Frankfurt Galaxy at 6-5, and the Cologne Centurions at 0-11. So as I mentioned, only 2 playoff spots remain, with 4 teams contending for those final 2 spots. Those teams being the Paris Musketeers, the defending champion Rhein Fire, Madrid Bravos, and my Frankfurt Galaxy. Fingers crossed that they could pull that one off.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that in that Western Division, you could possibly have 3 teams all going to the playoffs from that one division if Paris and Frankfurt are the 2 that get those last 2 spots. That's 3 teams out of the West and one team from the other 3 divisions. Yeah,
and I mean, if something happens and the Fire can't get into the postseason to defend their title, that'd be something. The Nordic Storm, what a story! They're going to be in the playoffs. They've been in the league for 1 season. This is their first year, and they're pretty much leading the pack. I forget what the seeding is. We'll talk about that next week, I'm sure. But should be interesting over there if you're keeping track of the European League of Football.
All right, and that's it for our scores this week. Getting fewer and fewer heading into the NFL season, so
right.
Things will start slowing down here at the World of Football. Maybe I'll get a chance to read that book here. And
every time we say it's going to slow down, it doesn't. So
it never does. It never does. But we love it. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about some more happenings in the world of football. We've got some NFL news to talk about. Fox Sports announced that Rob Gronkowski is going to take over for Jimmy Johnson as a full-time analyst on the Fox NFL pregame show. I'm not crazy about Rob Gronkowski myself.
No?
What do you think?
I don't know. Look, Gronk can be a fun personality. He gels well with that crew. And of all the pregame shows, the Fox pregame is my favorite one to watch. When I get a chance to watch it, when I'm not feeling superstitious, because I didn't watch it a lot this year because I feel like every time I did, the Lions lost. And guess what? Both times I watched pregame shows were the 2 losses during the regular season. So I think I'm justified for skipping the pregame shows from now on. But whenever I've watched him, look, I love Jimmy Johnson. He was always great, but I think Gronk can be serviceable. I think you can plug him in with that crew, and it'll still be a good show. They do it right over there with the Fox guys.
Sorry, Fox, you could have done a better job on that one. All right, let's see. Lions defensive back Maurice Norris was injured in a preseason game against the Falcons. We've all seen the videos. And you and I were watching this game live. I know I was. You were watching this game live too, weren't you?
I was, yeah. And I've never seen anything. The way that game ended, I've never seen something like that.
Yeah. He was taken off the field in an ambulance. Atlanta chose to run out the final 14 minutes and 30 seconds in the fourth quarter. That scene of all 22 players on the field holding hands with the ball on the field, standing there in the center of the field, praying and holding hands, just was incredible. I mean, as a preseason game, if this had been a regular season game, yeah, they probably would have continued and finished the game. But being preseason and all, it was the right thing to do. It was a very classy thing to do, and that's an image that's going to be with me for a long time. Is all those guys staying in a circle while he was, well, I think by then he was gone. He was off the field by then.
Yeah, once they got him out of there, yeah. Because the whole image. Because I was like, I was kind of confused for a second. I was like, oh, they're gonna go back to playing the game. I'm sitting there watching, and then they just set the ball down, and all the guys stand around in a circle, and it was just like, I've never seen this.
Yeah,
they let the 8 minutes of the clock run down, and then finally New York stepped in and said, all right, we're postponing the game. Clearly, these guys aren't gonna play, which is fine. I don't know why it took the NFL so long to just call in and be like, yeah, just end it. Because 8 minutes go by. I felt bad we were watching obviously the Lions version of the broadcast. I was just like, man, these guys are sitting here just having to fill in airtime after something as terrible as that incident. But luckily, I believe Maurice Norris is back in Michigan. He was at the team's practice facility. So even Dan Campbell said it might be 10 to 14 days, but he's being evaluated. And so it should be interesting.
Yeah, he spent at least one night in the hospital in Atlanta, but now he's back in Detroit. So hard to say if he'll be ready for the regular season. We'll just have to wait and see. But they're not gonna do anything that's gonna hurt his chances of getting a full recovery. So that's a good thing. All right. Another story that came out a few days ago, and I'm not sure if this is still a good story anymore, but the NFL has banned the use of smelling salts and any other ammonia inhalants during pregame activities, games, and halftime, or on the sidelines or in the locker room, saying that the products are proven to be not safe and could also, mask signs of a concussion. And you said that they've kind of walked this back in the last couple of days.
I feel like after it kind of came out, because I know George Kittle came out and he was like, this is bull crap, whatever. Yeah. But they clarified that it was the teams or the league will not be providing it for players, but if players want to still use them, it is up to them to supply themselves with the stuff. It's how I took it. Somebody can correct me in the chat if I'm off on that, but that's how I took it. So they kind of walked it back because this is a big hullabaloo. I didn't think it was that big a deal, but then you look into it, it's like, a lot of these guys use those smelling salts for a lot of stuff. And I guess George Kittle really uses the stuff. So, I mean, it is what it is, but dang, it was still, of all the stories, that was the one I did not expect to be as contested as it ended up being for a minute there before the NFL was like, whoa, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay. I guess there was a video that came out of CeeDee Lamb getting run over on the sidelines by a referee.
Did you not see that?
I saw something about it, but I didn't know who was involved. I didn't know if that was something from this year or what.
Oh yeah. So CeeDee Lamb was just sitting there chilling on the sideline of that Dallas Rams preseason game, and apparently he was just standing in the wrong spot because as the referee's running down the sideline there, he just runs into CeeDee Lamb. It's a great video. Go check it out if you haven't seen it, but it's kind of funny. And I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, he got flagged on the play because he was standing in a spot he shouldn't have been standing in anyway. And that's why the referee, who's just doing his job running down the field, collided with him. So that was a very funny incident there.
Another story is that ESPN is acquiring the NFL Network and the NFL Red Zone. I mean, they've been talking about this for 6 months or more, and I guess now I don't think it's quite official yet, but it's close to being done, I guess. That's why they're talking about it again.
It doesn't come into effect until 2026. So for this season, I think everything's done because Goodell went on ESPN and talked about it. The NFL is going to get 10% stake in ESPN or something. I forget how all that works, but I don't know. It sounds weird because ESPN's launching their new app, and clearly this is going to add some more programming to that. It's just it'll be weird and interesting to see what exactly happens. Because the NFL Network shows kind of lack a lot of stuff, but they have good personality over there. It's like they didn't want to budget or or fund some of those shows over there. But then you got ESPN, who also has a bunch of great talent, but some of their shows are boring as heck, and it's just the same old stuff over and over all day long. Maybe they could, with this merger, we can get Good Morning Football back to being awesome again and get some of those hosts back together. Because no offense to Good Morning Football now, it just ain't the same. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. Once they take over, how many people are going to get fired from their jobs that have been doing it for quite a while. That seems to be ESPN's modus operandi.
Well, what's weird is you got guys like Peter Schrager, who jumped from
right
there to coming over to ESPN.
Yep.
And I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what they end up doing, how they shuffle things around or not. So yeah, good could come of this, but it does make me nervous.
And the last story concerning the NFL, Hard Knocks episode 1 with the Buffalo Bills premiered last Tuesday after we got done with our podcast last week. Second episode's coming out tonight. I've not seen the first episode, but you have.
I did. It's a good one. I'm going to tell you that right now. I think that since the Lions whole Hard Knocks episode, this was probably one of my favorites. This is a great, solid episode because you get to see the Bills do their training camp up in Rochester, where we ran into John Steffenhagen. So they go up there for camp for a couple weeks. They have it at a college, and it was just really cool. You get to see the guys getting set up with their dorms. They're riding scooters around. Everybody's Josh Allen's king there, but he seems like super humble. Just the way that town kind of rallies around this team is fascinating. It's interesting. And it's super cool, and it made me. If I weren't already a Lions fan, watching that episode might have made me a Bills fan. But don't worry, Detroit. I still love my Lions, but. It was a good one. It was solid, Randy. Yeah, go check it out if you get a chance. Get Aaron's login if you need to watch the episode. But it was really good. I'm actually looking forward to tonight's episode and talking about it next week. It was that good. They highlighted a few guys. Well, there's one player who is into drifting cars, so he started his own car drifting. I don't know if you want to call it a business, but it's a place where people can come. You get a car and you just drift it in the lot. So he's got he takes turns with his 3 little kids sitting in the seat next to him. He puts the helmet on him and he just takes them drifting. And it was actually pretty cool. And you get to see, what else did they highlight? Because it's been a minute, but you get to see so much, a couple of the guys go to a local ice cream shop, and it was a player who used to be with the Bills. He was gone for a couple of years and he came back, and they go to this ice cream shop. And he has the specific order he has. And he was trying to convince them to sell his specific order, which was ice cream on a warm cookie. And he was going around telling people hey, you guys should try this. And then tell them that they should make this a regular item in the shop. And it was just really cool. And seeing the way that town rallies around that team is really good. And this is, like I said, one of the better Hard Knocks so far since the Lions, probably. I've been enjoying it.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to some news from the National Arena League. I guess the Idaho Horsemen announced that they are not returning in 2026. I don't know if that means that they're going to be jumping to another league, or if they're going to be, come back in a year after they, maybe restructure their finances or whatever. That wasn't clear from what I read in the statement. So we'll just have to wait and see if they show up in another league, or if they, come back, or if they never come back. Who's to say?
It's hard to say. I know they've been there for a few seasons. Turned out obviously not what they wanted, but I don't know. This will be an interesting one. Do they take a year off? Do they, come back in a different city next year in the same league?
Right.
Hard to say now, because now I think the NAL's down to 6 teams officially. I'm not sure. So
I believe so.
It'll be interesting. You always hate to see a team lead, but that's kind of the nature of the indoor/arena world, is teams moving, teams folding. It's kind of par for the course, and it's not the only one we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Another team that has already left the league is the Beaumont Renegades, who were were there for one season. They were a brand new team, won the whole championship in the National Arena League this past year, and after that announced they weren't coming back for next year.
Right.
And now, based on some press release they just put out, they're holding a press conference tomorrow, I guess, to talk about their future. And the rumor is that they might be joining Arena Football 1.
That's the rumor. I
Yeah,
do
I
want to
didn't-
point out, though, looking at this press release, yes, you see the word Arena Football League kind of in several
Right.
spots of the article. I also want to just throw out there, and while we don't know, we don't have any insider information, we're not telling you something you probably don't already know. It's just the speculation is you would think it's AF1. It might be AF1. We'll find out tomorrow. But if it's not the AF1, then this is the issue I have, which is these leagues or teams saying they're going to play in a arena football league that doesn't actually play arena football. And you know,
Right.
us here, the world of football, we're sticklers. It's the definition of arena football is you got to play with the rebound nets. If you don't even have those,
Yep.
you do not play arena football. I'm sorry, semantics, whatever. I don't care. Oh, but we play in an arena. Everybody plays in an arena, but you don't play with the nets. You don't play that style of game. I won't get into it. So that's what makes me think it's got to be AF1. And if it's not, it's another league that uses arena in it. And the only other one, because they're not jumping back to the NAL, is that new or the brought back, was it the American Arena League? Because there's AAL2, and now this is the
Right.
AAL.
Right.
I just can't keep it all straight. But
Yeah, we'll
we'll
see.
see.
We'll
we'll find
know
out.
tomorrow, I guess. Tomorrow is the press conference, right? It's tomorrow, not
Yes.
Thursday.
It
Okay.
says the official announcement will take place on August 13th at 4
Okay.
p.m. in Texas. So I assume that's Texas time, which means it'll probably be 6 o'clock Eastern time is
Right.
when we'll hear about it. So
Okay.
we'll find out tomorrow.
Okay. Moving on to some actual Arena Football 1 news. 4 players from the Arena Crown Championship team, the Albany Firebirds, have all signed with the UFL's Memphis Showboats. That
Yes,
would
they
be
did.
quarterback Sam Castronova, wide receiver Dwayne Brown, wide receiver Isaiah Scott, and offensive lineman Isaiah Hardy. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of times you'll hear about these guys playing in the arena leagues that go on to other teams. You know, they move up, but 4 guys to one team, man, that's I've never seen that before.
Clearly they want to keep the core together, Randy. They want to make sure that those guys have a shorthand and like, hey, let's hit the ground running. But an awesome opportunity for all of them. I mean, that's
Yes,
the whole point
absolutely.
of these, you know, as much as we love arena football, indoor football, those type of stuff, and we would hold that in such high regard. Like, I mean, I got a poster of an arena football player, you know, just Clint Dolezal. Like, to me, that was like, he was my John Elway. He's my Bart Starr, Clint Dolezal. Like, so to see these guys, you know, want to move up, that's their dream. Get that next opportunity, because it can only hopefully go up from there. And they'll always have AF1 to fall back on if something doesn't work out. And right now the Showboats are also kind of in flux because we don't know what's happening with half these teams in the UFL going into the next season. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. But yeah, good for them. Good for them getting an opportunity to move up to the next level.
Heck yeah.
All right. In a little bit of college news, the Associated Press Top 25 was released. Their preseason poll. I really don't give much credit to any of these preseason polls. It's all garbage. But here's their top 10 in the AP poll. Number 1 is Texas. And I think clearly the only reason he's there, or this team is there, is because it's Arch Manning. And so that's why they put Texas as number 1. Number 2, they got Penn State. 3, Ohio State. 4, Clemson. 5, Georgia. 6, Notre Dame. 7, Oregon. 8, Alabama. 9, LSU. And 10, Miami. So take that with a grain of salt. You know, I always tell people, take this list from the preseason poll and save it until the playoffs are around and see how many of these teams are still in the top 10 at the end of the season. These rankings mean nothing. So it's just all fluff at this point.
The pre and preseason stands for premature, just like people's takes with the NFL preseason. Look, this is going to be, like you said, it's going to fluctuate. To me, polls, power rankings, all that sort of stuff should not come into play until about halfway through the season. Can we get a sample size? I mean, yeah, I get you want to do this just for the marketability of, like, I think in week 1, we're going to get Texas, Ohio State. Like, we're getting some big top 10 games. I think there's 3 top 10 matchups in week 1 alone. So I get it from a marketing standpoint, but man, it's just, can we just settle down with power rankings and rankings? Can we get a sample size first before? Like, that's the one thing I'll give the college football playoff is those rankings, the ones that matter, don't happen until like, a significant amount of football has been played. Can we please do that? Can we please have a good sample size before we just start crowning teams and before we want to start hanging up jerseys in stadiums for stuff players have barely done? I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a story that I didn't tell you about, but I found this just before we started recording. There's going to be 777 college and universities playing college football this fall. The NCAA is going to have 673. The NAIA and independent schools are going to add another 104, making the 777. They've got 4 new teams coming out this year, 4 new schools. The Maine Maritime Academy, University of Rio Grande in Ohio, Roanoke College in Virginia, and the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. Plus, they've got 7 more teams coming in 2026 and a couple more after that. So, 9 more teams coming in the next couple of years. The last time I looked at how many college teams there were in the country was maybe a couple of years ago, and it was only like 600 and some at that time. And now we're talking 777 across all the different levels of college football. Division I, or FCS, FBS, Division II, Division III, NAIA, independent schools, whatever. So it's just incredible. When I saw 777, I couldn't believe it.
And looking at your notes, the thing I find incredible is the acronym for the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, which thank you for putting that in the notes here. UTRGV. Awesome. I hope they put that on a helmet somewhere.
Yeah. Well, every year, we talk about the University of Texas San Antonio, UTSA, and I always say, the Roadrunners, because I just love their mascot. And to me, that's pretty awkward. UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, but now you've got UTRGV.
It's awesome.
I don't know.
Kudos to the person that gets that tattooed on their butt. Kudos to you.
Yeah. That'd be a super fan, I guess.
Hey, I actually, that's a super fan I think I would meet. Well, maybe it's not on the butt. If you got it on the arm, okay, yeah, we could have a beer. That'd be cool.
Yeah, don't send us any pictures of your butt tattoos, please. Don't
send your butt tattoos to Randy at wofkalamazoo@gmail.com.
No. Let's see. Adam, you've got a new game you want to try out today?
Guys, I've been trying to think of something to do live that would be fun, and I've come up with a game I want to play with Randy because I just got to see how Randy's going to react. There's some other stories we didn't fit into the news side of things, and I figured I'd throw a few at Randy and see if he would be impressed or not impressed. Feel free to play along in the chat, everybody. If you're watching,
and I don't know what you'll be asking me.
This is why, because I love putting you on the spot. It's one of my favorite pastimes. So our first edition of impressed or not impressed, and let's just start with the obvious one, the thing that everybody has been talking about over the weekend, Dad, and that would be good old Shedeur Sanders. Got to see some preseason action over the weekend. Shedeur Sanders, he went 14 of 23 for 138 yards, and he threw for 2 touchdowns. He had 4 rushes for 19 yards in his preseason debut against the Carolina Panthers. Dad, are you impressed or not impressed with Shedeur Sanders' first start in the NFL?
Well, I will say that he obviously looked better than our backup Hendon Hooker looked. So
I'll give you that. I will give you that.
a little impressed with that, but it's preseason, for gosh sake. Everybody looks like world beaters. Everybody looks like champions. I think he's maybe a little bit better than people are talking about, but I'm not impressed with a preseason game.
Ooh, okay, all right. I am also going not impressed. I mean, if you followed me on X, you saw I had a whole thing. Look, again, like you said, it's preseason. Pre stands for premature. I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback. But I am tired of people coming out of the woodwork and be like, hang his jersey up, everybody. Hang the jersey in the rafters now. He has played a handful of snaps in a preseason game against scrubs, and he looks like the greatest quarterback. But guys, he's number 4 on the depth chart now. He played because of injury. I don't want to hear the argument of, well, the team wanted to throw him out there to, teach him a lesson and blah, all that narrative bull crap. Throw it out the window. If that's your argument, it's a trash argument and it's not real. What team in their right mind wanting to find a good quarterback? And let's face it, the Cleveland Browns have sucked at finding a quarterback. The one they did, what'd they do? They shipped him out of town, and now he's playing in Tampa Bay, and he's looking pretty darn good, by the way. Yeah. The other one, a sexual predator they gave a huge contract to. What's he doing? He's injured, sitting on a bench somewhere. Yep, Cleveland making all the correct decisions there. Look, I want Shedeur to be as good as he can be. That's great for us to talk about. I just think he needs to get the ego in check, and I just think, a little humility will go a long way with this kid. Maybe he'll be something special, but until then, I can't buy it. Especially in a preseason game. I'm waiting for him to play in a game that matters. Because as of right now, Joe Flacco's still the starter, and Shedeur's a 4th-string quarterback on the depth chart. We'll leave it at that. All right, Dad. Speaking of preseason and stuff that maybe shouldn't matter, but maybe it should matter in our hearts. You might have seen the highlight. A record-breaking field goal was kicked in the NFL preseason as Cam Little hit a 40-yard field goal for the Jacksonville Jaguars in a preseason game. Yes, it's preseason and it doesn't count, so it's not really a record. But would you think, are you impressed or not impressed?
I actually am impressed. I mean, regardless of preseason or not, this is an impressive accomplishment. And we got our kicker, Jake Bates, in Detroit from the Michigan Panthers of the UFL when he kicked a 64-yarder. He actually had to do it twice because they stopped the play before, as he was kicking, they called timeout. He made it then. He made it a second time, and he's been fantastic ever since. Is this guy always going to be this good? I don't know, but yeah, I'm impressed with a 70-yard field goal.
Yeah, it does think that it's not a record. I mean, it is preseason after all. But what a cool opportunity for this guy to show he's got that leg. So that'll probably open up some doors for him, even if he doesn't make the Jags roster. I don't know what their kicking depth chart is like, but I am thoroughly impressed with this one. So kudos to him. Another kicking story out of the preseason. Did you see this one? Bills backup running back Ray Davis filled in for their injured kicker, and he successfully kicked a point after attempt during their preseason game against the Giants. Dad, impressed or not impressed with a backup running back coming in and kicking a PAT for his team?
I would say I'm impressed that he can do that. We had Ndamukong Suh try and do that once when Jason Hansen got injured on a kick return, and Ndamukong Suh came in. Because was it you and I was sitting in the end zone when that happened. I don't remember if you.
Yeah, we were at that. It was the Lions versus Jets. I think we were there.
Yeah, we were in the end zone, so he was kicking right to us, and he just missed it. I guess he had practiced that in college or whatever. I'm not sure what the deal was, but yeah, that's the only time he ever kicked an extra point and didn't make it. So yeah, it's still impressive. I mean, it's not like it used to be. I mean, it used to be it was like a 17-yard field goal for an extra point because it was on the 2-yard line or 3-yard line. Now it's a 35-yard kick. So yeah, that's impressive, I think.
Okay. The next one I got for you, impressed or not impressed with the Munich Ravens jerseys over the weekend. They rocked these, they call them their homecoming uniforms. They got like a checkered pattern on them. I thought these looked very cool. I was very impressed with this look that they wore over the weekend. What do you think, Dad? This is your first time seeing them?
This is my first time seeing these. And You know, they wear some crazy uniforms in Europe for their soccer teams, and so I'm sure this is an homage to some soccer team somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not impressed for a football team.
Not impressed, Randy. Oh,
No.
that one hurts. That one stings. I think these were some cool looking uniforms. I thought it was cool. Yeah, they got it looks very reminiscent of, I don't know if that's the Munich team, if they have a professional football team, soccer team over there, I assume. I think that's cool. I think more teams should do that if they haven't already. I like the look. I am impressed. All right.
You'd never see my Nordic Storm wearing something ugly like that.
Hey, you never know. Maybe you just haven't been paying attention. But all right, the last one I got here, because I can't find my other graphic. We could talk about it after this next one. But did you see this? Saskatchewan Rough Rider quarterback. Was that I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden.
Trevor Harris.
Trevor Harris and his kids were on a local broadcast of the weather, and they got to do a little segment of the weather there. And I'm gonna throw the video on screen for those of you who haven't seen it. It seemed like a lot of fun. Him and the kids, they did the weather. They're going through all the different towns and up there in Canada, and then they talk about the game coming up this weekend where they're going to crush the Ticats. I just thought this is a fun thing. And so I got to ask you, Dad, impressed or not impressed with Trevor Harris's weatherman skills?
That is so cool. I don't know if you'd see Josh Allen doing that on a local Buffalo station. But no, they do things differently up in Canada, and that's why we like the CFL. That's why we like the players and everything about what's going on up in Canada. That's pretty cool. I'm impressed.
Yeah, impressed indeed. And the last one I had was about the Tom Brady statue. That was a story that you originally had in there that he got a statue. I was going to put in there if you were impressed or not impressed with it. Clearly, I couldn't get my graphic up in time. But what do you think about that real quick before you move on?
You had to figure they were going to put up a statue of him. I mean, so many Super Bowl championships and so many years with that team. Of course, he's going to get a statue. It's like a foregone conclusion that they were going to do that. So whether I'm impressed or not doesn't matter. It's you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. All right, I'm done. That was our first shot at impressed or not impressed. Let us know what you think in the comments if you want us to do something like that again, or if you got suggestions for next week if we play again. So thank you for humoring me, and we will send it back over to Randy, who's going to want to wrap up the show because I see we've run really long today.
Yeah, really. Yeah, let us know if you're impressed or not impressed with Adam's game.
Oh, man. I guess I walked into that one.
All right, let's wrap up today's show. Today's birthday for August 12th. Plaxico Burress turns 48 years old today. He played his college football at Michigan State, and he was the 8th overall pick in the 2000 NFL draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played 11 NFL seasons from 2000 to 2012. He missed he missed the 2009 and 2010 seasons for violating the league's personal conduct policy. I don't remember what that was all about, but
you don't remember? That's when he shot himself with his firearm.
Oh, was that at the strip club?
Probably.
Anyway, he played for the Steelers from 2000 to 2004. He was with the Giants from 2005 to 2008, and he was with the Jets in 2011 and the Steelers again in 2012. He won Super Bowl 42 with the Giants over those nasty New England Patriots. And then we have one obituary today. This is where we take a moment and we honor those who made the world of football a better place. Our one obituary is that of Billy Houghton, an end in the NFL for 12 seasons. He's passed away at the age of 95. Houghton played college football at Rice University and was selected in the second round of the 1952 NFL draft by the Green Bay Packers. He played for the Packers from 1952 to 1958. He was with the Cleveland Browns in 1959, and he played for the Dallas Cowboys from 1960 to 1963. Houghton was inducted into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame in 1974. All right, moving on. Lastly today, our upcoming events calendar. Next Tuesday, August 19th, is going to be our 8th anniversary show. 8 years of doing this. Whew.
Yeah.
Does it feel like 8 years?
It feels like 8 years. Yeah,
Okay.
it's crazy.
Okay.
It's a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of awesome opportunities. And I think next week, so if you guys have ever checked out one of our podcasts about our anniversaries, Randy finds a bunch of clips. So since we're doing the show live next week, I don't know if we're going to try to go a little later in the evening. Let us know what time you guys think. Does 4:00 Eastern work for you guys, or should we bump it back to like 7:00 at night? Would that be better for a lot of people? Just let us know. We're willing to hear some feedback. It's just things kind of worked out the last couple of weeks doing it at 4:00 for us schedule wise. Well, we can bump it back, and Randy's gonna have some more clips, so we'll have those on the show, and a lot of reminiscing probably about our 8 years, and I don't know what else Randy's got planned, so it should be a fun time.
Yeah, no, they're all going to be audio clips because for most of this last year up until episode 400, everything was just an audio podcast. So they'll all be audio clips.
Right on.
Okay, let's see. Saturday, August 23rd, the college football season begins, week 0. There are going to be 8 games that weekend, highlighted by the Iowa State versus Kansas State game that's going to be played in Dublin, Ireland. Also that day, it's the IFL National Championship game in Tucson, Arizona. Green Bay Blizzard versus the Vegas Nighthawks. Who's going to be correct on this, me or Trey? We'll find out. That'll have bragging rights between our two podcasts for a year to come, I guess. Let's see.
Leave me out of that one.
Let's see. Thursday, September 4th, the NFL season kicks off with a game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And on Sunday, September 7th, the European League of Football Championship game will be played over there in Europe. Okay. Anything else before we close out this long show today?
No, a special shout out and thanks to our guests, John Steffenhagen and Jeff Miller. Go check out their book. Again, we'll put the link down in the description after the show's aired. Always awesome talking to those guys. It was Leo Lyons is a fascinating story. Like, we've hung out with these guys. They've told us a lot about what's in this book, and we hope that, if you missed their interview, guys, go back to the beginning of the show. I'm telling you right now, these guys, I could sit and listen to these two talk for hours. And I usually do when I go to their Buffalo PFRA conference, and I'll sit and listen to both of them talk. I just have the best time. They got great stories, and couldn't recommend that more. So we appreciate them for hopping on. As far as breaking news, though, just little injury stuff here and there. Nothing big. A couple of teams have announced that players have some significant injuries, so we won't get into that. But as far as I got, I'm good.
Okay. All right. That's it for this week. Don't forget to check out the World of Football merchandise at tpublic.com for the latest in football-related T-shirts, hats, mugs, and more from our merch store. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, talking about all things football. Join us again next week when we'll try and do a better job and maybe take a little less time. Yeah, right. Until then, I'm Randy Snow.
I'm Adam Snow. Thanks again, everybody who was in the chat today. No questions in the show, which is fine. Hopefully we'll see some people back next week, and we'll have a great time. All right.
See you then.
Good? All right. Bye,
I'm
guys.
good.
Thanks again for checking out this edition of This Week in the World of Football. New episodes of the show are posted every Tuesday and can be found wherever good podcasts are available. You can find the World of Football on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads by searching for TWOF Kalamazoo or using the links in the episode description below. Be sure to subscribe to the World of Football on YouTube for more great football-related content. Just search for the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @TheWorldOfFootball to find us. Remember, every like, comment, and subscription really does help us out, and we appreciate you for that support. We hope to see you again next time.